What is going on, Misfits? Welcome back to another edition of Logician Tim Learns. With me, your host, Logician Tim. That's right, this is the show where you get to watch me go from a total gaming newbie to a more informed gaming newbie. How about that? What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Welcome back. We are working on this new Pathfinder 2nd edition. And like I said before, I've got no experience with Pathfinder whatsoever. So I can't do a comparison between like 1st edition and 2nd edition for you. So we're just going to be coming at it straight, like scratch. From scratch, learning everything like as the book tells us, like step by step. I'm going to show you exactly what it tells us. So that's what we're going to do. And today we're going to be talking about the character creation section in the book. So hopefully, for the most part, you'll get all the ins and outs on how to create a character from what the book tells us. But before we go into actually creating your character, we kind of need to, I think it's kind of best to go back and learn about the ability scores and how those things work, because your ability scores will directly affect your character and their roles. So let's start with that first. Let's bust open the book here. Where are we at? Page 19. I took some notes today. All right, page 19. There we go. Get this centered up for you guys so you can see the pretty pictures and stuff that I'm looking at. So in Pathfinder, there are 6 ability scores, and they're broken down into either physical or mental groups. Okay, so there's strength, dexterity, and constitution, and those are the physical ability scores. Then there's intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, and those are the mental ability scores. And I think these are pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to go in and like describe to you what strength stands for and dexterity, all that kind of stuff. They're all pretty basic. Each ability score is going to start with a score of 10, which is kind of average for like your normal human character. And you will actually adjust these scores with like ability boost, which will increase these numbers, and ability flaws, which will decrease these scores as well. All right. So there are 4 things or kind of steps that will provide boost or flaws for your ability scores. Number 1 is your Ancestry, and your Ancestry kind of provides, it will provide an ability boost, and sometimes, like every once in a while, it'll provide a flaw as well. You can also take some voluntary flaws, and you will apply them here. Your background is going to give you 2 ability boost. Your class is going to provide 1 ability boost. And it's going to be, you really wanted to score it to your boost to the score that's most important to your class is what I'm trying to get out. So your class is going to be your key ability score that you're looking for, and it tells you right in the book, and you'll get a boost to that one right there. Hope I explained that right. I probably sounded weird. All right, so let's start over. Your class is going to give you a boost to 1 of your ability scores, and it's going to be the one that is key to that class. All right, so if your key ability score for wizard is intelligence, you're going to get a boost to intelligence. All right, there. It's a lot easier said that way. And then finally, you get a kind of an extra step here where you can just apply 4 more ability boosts kind of your choice. I think they have to be different. You can't apply more than 1 to 1. So if you're doing strength and dexterity, you can't do like 2 and 2. You have to do 1 strength, 1 dexterity, and then you have to pick 2 other ability scores to apply those to. At least that's the way I read it anyway. So ability boost will normally increase your ability score by 2 points each. Unless that stat is already 18 or higher, and that's just going to give you 1 point. Ability flaws, on the other hand, will decrease those ability scores by 2 points. All right, so boost increase by 2, flaws decrease by 2. And once you get your ability scores all figured out with the boost and the flaws and all that kind of good stuff, you're going to then use these scores to determine your ability modifiers. And this is very similar, almost identical to Dungeons and Dragons. When we looked at that quick start guide or whatever it's called, Essentials, I think is what we did. So to do this, basically what you're going to do is you're going to take these ability scores and apply that to the handy dandy chart that they have here for us, and you're going to jot it down onto your character sheet. So if your ability score is a 6 or 7, that's going to give you a modifier of -2. That's pretty bad. If it's your ability score is a 12 or 13, that's going to give you a +1 modifier. And so you just go down and look at, okay, my strength is this, and so my modifier is this, and just fill it out right on the character sheet for you. So And that's pretty much it. I just want to kind of go over abilities just real quickly on kind of some of the ins and outs of them before we got into character creation. So now that we do know a little bit about ability scores and ability modifiers, let's move on to the character creation section where there are 10 steps. I'll get it out, to creating a character in Pathfinder 2nd edition, okay? First, you're going to create your concept. Then you're going to start building your ability scores. You're going to select your ancestry, pick a background, choose a class, determine your ability scores, record your class details, buy equipment, calculate modifiers, and then kind of do the finishing touches. And that's all 10 of them right there. So we're going to kind of go through these one by one. The first thing we're going to start with is creating a concept. And this here, you're just trying to figure out kind of like the basic type of character that you want to play. You know, are you going to play this like real strong buff warrior guy? Or are you going to play this kind of old wise cleric? You know, maybe he's more feeble. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's like super strong too. I don't know. You know, whatever, however you want. So here you just want to start thinking about your characters, kind of like their possible past or backgrounds a little bit, and think about, you know, what might have motivated them to go on adventures in this world instead of just staying at home and like eating cupcakes or whatever, right? So I think it's a good idea to go ahead and peek ahead at the ancestry, the backgrounds, and the classes to kind of give you some ideas and inspiration at the type of things that you might enjoy playing. This is not one of those books, to me at least, that you just jump in, don't know anything about it, and you create your character as you're reading. It's not really like that. You kind of have some work to do. You need to kind of read the first couple, 3 chapters at least, full chapters about all the different ancestries and backgrounds and the classes, and maybe some of the skills and feats as well. And so get some of the stuff underneath your belt if you've never played this game before, or Dungeons and Dragons. And so yeah, if you're a rookie to both of them, spend some time and do some reading first, and that'll give you a better idea of what kind of character you might want to play. All right, so what's up, Joe Franklin? Good to see you, my dude. And Angela, if you're watching, hello to you. So first thing, you're going to create that concept. Secondly, we're going to start building our, I know there's some pretty pictures here I skipped. I'm going to be coming back to those. The second step is building your ability score. So remember, your character's ability scores, they start at 10. So just kind of jot that down on your character sheet in pencil, because you're going to be changing them throughout this process when you choose your ancestry, class, and other things. All right. So start thinking about which ability scores are most important to your character at this point. You know, do they need to have that high strength, or maybe they don't care about strength so much, and you want them to have high charisma, right? So just kind of start picking those things out. You know, does wisdom matter to you at all? Just those types of things when you're starting to do this concept and start kind of filling in your ability scores. The next part, and you know what, I actually have one of these character sheets I can show you guys. It's actually kind of hard to look at, and no, this is not like just bad on the stream. It's kind of hard to look at. It's really, I don't know. It's hard to read from my eyes. There's kind of a lot there. It's a lot to take in. I'm sure like the more I played it, the more I'd get used to it. But right here you can see your strength modifier, your strength score. You know, right now that would be 10. And then we'd have, what was our strength modifier? What would that be at 10? If I look at my chart, that would be 0. So our strength modifier would be 0 right there. So you start kind of filling these things in right here. Anyways, I want to show you, that's what they look like. That's what the character sheet looks like. It's a lot going on. A lot going on there. But, I mean, it's just like every other game. You get used to it. You fill it in step by step. And, of course, you know, some of these are going to be, depending on your class, some of them you're not going to be filling out stuff. So, you know, if you're a fighter, you're not going to be filling out, like, the spell section, right? So, yeah. All right, I just want to show you guys that real quick. Okay, third step is we're going to select an ancestry, okay? And there's 6 different ancestries to choose from, all right? Other RPGs probably call these, refers to ancestries as races, but in Pathfinder, races basically are called ancestries. And you have, and they're up here, you have dwarf, elf, gnome, goblin, halfling, and human, okay? Those are the 6 different ancestries or races for you to choose from. And your ancestry is going to determine a few things. It's going to be your size, your speed, like how fast you move, the languages that you learn. It's also going to affect your hit points as well. And this ancestry is also going to grant you some ability boost and ability flaws as well. And there's kind of 4 decisions to be made when you pick your ancestry. First, which one do you want to be? You pick one. So if I want to be a dwarf or an elf or a gnome or whatever, then secondly, we're going to assign any free ability boost and decide if you're taking any type of voluntary flaws. And when we get to the ancestry and backgrounds chapter, we're going to be going over a lot more about ancestries and the differences between them as well. So I've decided that instead of doing just kind of a quick overview, I think I'm going to do a lot deeper dive into this one and look at the individual ancestries and backgrounds and classes and go through each one of those because they supply so much in the book and it's like really good stuff. I don't want to miss out on it. So we're going to do streams on all that stuff, guys. So don't panic if you don't know like the difference between the elf and the halfling and what's all that, because we're going to be going into that at a later time. So just know that, when you start getting into your ancestry or a race, that you're going to have some free ability boost and you're going to kind of decide if you want to take any type of voluntary flaws in there. And we'll get to that when we do. The third step is we're going to select a heritage, and the heritage is going to further define the traits of the character. Heritages are something that's basically kind of like passed down to you from generation to generation. You can only pick one and you can't change it. That's it forever. And these heritages can be kind of like bonuses to saving throws or like, resistance to cold or something like that, dark vision, those type of things. And they're listed in the ancestry section for each type of ancestry, and you kind of pick one of those is what you do. Then finally, you're going to choose an ancestry feat, not F-E-E-T, F-E-A-T, which is an ability that your character learned kind of early on in life. And these might be like extra bonuses, damage bonus to like fire spells or something like that, or bonuses to being sneaky, just stuff like that. And you get one of these feats, these ancestry feats at level 1, then you get additional feats at level 5, 9, 13, and 17. So you'll get to add those more as you level up. All right, so that's your ancestry. Now we're going to talk about picking a background. Your characters, and again, we're going to be going over backgrounds a lot later on too in further streams. Your character's background kind of represents their upbringing, and it's going to give you a 2 ability boost, training in one specific skill, training in a lore skill, and a specific skill feat. All right. So let me flip back here to the backgrounds real quick so you can see what I'm talking about when they say backgrounds. When I think of background, I think like backstory, right? But that's not really what they're talking about here. It is a little bit, but not really. So they have this list of backgrounds here for you. Like this one is an artist, and it says, and this is like all the information about it. It says, your art is your greatest passion, whatever form it takes. Adventuring might help you find inspiration or simply be a way to survive until you become a world famous artist. Choose 2 ability boosts. One must be to dexterity or charisma, and one is a free ability boost. You're trained in the crafting skill and the art lore skill. You gain the specialty crafting skill feat, all right? And they have a whole bunch of these, from detective to bounty hunter, charlatan, scholar, herbalist, fortune teller, and it goes on and on. Tinkerer, scout. And so you can choose these kind of backgrounds that are going to give you some of these boosts and some of these skills and things like that. Kind of cool. So lots of customization here. So these are kind of big, broad strokes that you're picking, and then you're fine tuning them with those different boosts and skills and things like that you're gathering along the way. The feats and the heritages, that makes it super, super customizable. So if somebody else picks an elf and you're an elf, you can go off in totally different directions. If somebody picks an elf and they're an elf wizard and you're an elf wizard, you can still go off in really diverse directions there, right? With the different heritages and the different feats and all those type of things. Kind of cool stuff. All right, what's the next step here? And the next step is, after the picking background, is choosing a class. All right, let me flip back to my little page here. There are 12 of these classes, so there's 4 there, and 4 here with nice, neat little pictures for us. There's alchemist, barbarian, bard, champion, cleric, druid, fighter, monk, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, and wizard. All right, so that's all 12 of them, and your class is going to give you access to like all types of abilities. It's also going to determine how well that you fight and how easily you can kind of shake off those harmful effects as well. So the class is also going to tell you, like I said earlier, which ability scores are important to that to that specific class. Like for wizard, for example, intelligence is the key ability score for wizards, and they kind of tell us right here that that's what it is. And then the secondary attributes, or not attributes, the secondary ability scores for a wizard are dexterity and constitution. And it tells us right here underneath this, but there's a whole chapter on just the different classes as well. So it kind of gives you a lot of detail and a lot of things to work through and learn about. I think that sounds like a lot of fun. That's why we're going to go over it later. It's going to be awesome. All right. So yeah, that's kind of picking your class. You need to do some research, read through the different classes, figure out which one you feel, kind of feel that works with your personality and the type of character that you want to play. What is up, Joe? Yeah, it's a cool book, dude. It really, really is. And it's one of those that you don't just chomp through when you're reading it. And if you're just like one of these passionate RPG readers, like I know a lot of people are, that maybe you don't get to play a lot, maybe you got hopes and dreams of playing one day, and so you kind of collect them and you read them. This is not one of those that you just kind of run through and just like, yeah, okay, yeah. This has got a lot of meat to it. It's very dense material, and there's a lot to take in. So I'm kind of glad that I'm doing these streams because that helps me kind of retain some of this information. So, all right. So the sixth step, and sorry, my nose is itching. The sixth step of creating your character is to determine your ability scores. All right. And you're going to do this in 3 steps. First, you're going to apply all the ability boost and those flaws from our ancestry and our background and class and all that. Then we're going to get 4 more ability boost that they give us, and we're going to be able to put that into any ability score. And like I said earlier, it sounds like they have to be 2 different ability scores for this step. So this is going to allow you to add 2 to the ability score, right, for each one of these. So charisma, strength, constitution, intelligence might be the 4 that I pick, and it doesn't sound like you can add more than one boost to a single ability score in this section. So yeah, that's kind of how you do it. And then you would translate those scores into the ability modifier using that chart from earlier and mark them down on the character sheet, just like I did over here. So if our strength was 10, our ability score was 10 of strength, then our ability strength modifier, our strength ability modifier would be 0, right? And dexterity, if that was 12, then our dexterity modifier would be +1, right? And so you just kind of go through and fill all of those out, just like D&D. All right, so next step is step 7 is recording your class details. And so this is where you want to jot down like all the benefits and the class features that your character gets from your class. Okay. So your hit points are going to be in there. So you're going to add your ancestry and your class together. And it tells you how many hit points you get from each. And you kind of add those together to determine your hit points. Your initial proficiency. And so this is like your class section will tell you what your starting proficiency ranks are in a number of areas, and you kind of choose which skills you want along with the ones kind of set by that class. And so you'll fill in those proficiencies there as well. And then some classes will have you make additional choices on the advancement table, kind of like selecting spells and stuff like that. And so you would do that here in this step. Then the next step is pretty simple. This is buy equipment. So your character is going to start off with 15 gold pieces, which they tell me is equal to 150 silver pieces. And you can use this to buy armor and weapons and other equipment that you might want for your adventure. Now, some weapons and armor are definitely better for certain classes. So be sure to kind of look at that equipment part. So you might not want to be wearing like heavy plate armor when you're a wizard, for example. I just heard that's not a good idea. So yeah, make sure you do that. Look at your equipment and stuff. Make sure it lines up to your class. I'm sure your class is, when we get to that, it's going to tell you what type of armor is best for you. Make sure you pick up some food and some traveling gear, sleeping bags, whatever type stuff as well. The 9th step, we're getting there, is calculating modifiers. All right. So depending on the proficiency rank from your class, you're going to start off with some bonuses in perception and saving throws and both melee and your ranged strikes. And so we're going to be going through this in a little bit more detail when we get to the class chapter, but just kind of wanted to run it by you right here so that you can get a little taste for it. So when you're at the untrained rank, you get no bonus, right? That makes sense. If you're trained, you get a bonus of 2 plus your level. If you're expert expert, you're 4 plus your level, master is 6 plus your level, and then legendary proficiency rank is 8 plus your skill level. So those really add up very quickly. So the perception modifier, which is kind of like your, how alert that you are, how aware are you of your surroundings. Well, the perception modifier is determined by your proficiency bonus in perception as well as your wisdom. You just kind of add up those two, and that's going to give us our perception modifier. Now, your saving throw modifier is determined by your character's fortitude, reflex, or the will proficiency bonus. And then so you're going to take either one of those. Just kind of depends on your class. And you're going to add that to your ability modifier associated with that proficiency. All right. And this will make more sense when we get to it, I promise. It sounds kind of like, what is he talking about? Because it almost reads like stereo instructions, but it makes sense once you start getting into the weeds a little bit. And once we start figuring out, like, how do we make skill checks and all that kind of stuff, it's going to make a little bit more sense to you. And we'll get there. I just want to expose you guys to this right now. You also need to calculate kind of how much damage each weapon strike does and put that on your character sheet as well. Melee weapons usually add your strength modifier to your damage rolls, and ranged weapons usually add either some or all of your strength modifier. It just kind of depends on the weapon. So you kind of jot this down on your character sheet when you're filling it out. And then skills. You're going to have to record your skills that you kind of picked on your character sheet. For each skill you train, you're going to get adds your proficiency bonus, which at level 1 is just a +3. So you're going to add your proficiency bonus of +3 to the ability modifier, along with any other type of abilities or any other type of penalties or bonuses that you might get. Kind of work those out now. So again, I'm just going through it step by step. And exactly how they tell us in the book. So you're going to add those up to your skills and kind of fill out all your skills and stuff there. And then the final kind of part here is the finishing details. And this is where you will decide, like, your character's alignment, if they're good or they're evil, are they law-abiding, are they chaotic, those type of things. You're going to also kind of decide whatever types of gods that your character worships, if any, your character's age, your gender, finalize your armor class stats and how much they'll be able to carry. All of that kind of stuff is determined right here in this step. And then, again, I don't want to go through like all the details of how do you figure out how much armor class you get, because I don't think that's the problem that people usually have issues with. It's right there in the book for you. And I think it just kind of turns out to be a really dry stream if we're just going through and telling how to get, how do you get all your hit points, your armor class, and how's this determined? It's pretty cut and dry in the book. I don't think it's confusing at all. So yeah, that's really about it for character creation in the Pathfinder 2nd edition. Like I said, now I think I'm going to, what I'm going to do is go through the different ancestries and the backgrounds and classes, all of these chapters, to kind of give people a good idea of what's in those chapters. What do they tell me about the different ancestries and the different backgrounds, and how are they different from one another? So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dive into each one of those, and I'll start covering with the different ancestries in the next stream and kind of move on from there. So far, some of it is a little complex. Like I said, it's dense material. It's not something you just kind of skim through if you're trying to really pick it up. You might want to skim through it the first time or two, though, and just kind of get familiar with stuff, and then you can go back and look at more details. You kind of have to study this book. It's not just a gravy book where you just kind of read through it real quick. It's you kind of have to study it a little bit, and I'm okay with that. I really am. So yeah, I had to hit the index a couple times for clarification on a few things, but overall the book seems very doable, and I think with a little bit of effort I can learn this thing. All right. So do me a favor and like the stream. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Leave me a comment. I try to reply to all of them. And then finally, share the stream. I've seen a lot of you guys and ladies and gentlemen sharing the stream all over the place on Facebook and Twitter and Discords and forums and all over the place, and I really do appreciate it. It does help a lot. I love seeing the new faces around here. So one last thing, my Patreon is now up and running. The link is down there in the description. If you like this type of content, please consider supporting me financially through Patreon. Every little bit adds up, and it does help a lot, guys. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all on the next time. We'll talk about some of those ancestries and stuff. Looking forward to it. All right.